Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Gaijin ended up updating War Thunder basically just after I made that video looking at the new vehicles, and now they're on the live server. But they're in the files, so they're not available, you have to use a hanger them in, but that's what I'm doing, so I thought we would have a look at them. The first one is the WZ-141-1. This is the new Battle Pass vehicle. This is the main prize of the Battle Pass that is coming in. As you can see, it actually looks really, really cool. There's a lot of interesting little intricacies to it, and I think we're going to go through them. So first of all, it's rank 4, battle rating 6.7, which is kind of nice because, you know, I was worried about it being a bit higher because of obviously the penetration on the recoilless, but we'll have to see how that goes. Looking at some of the other factors that this vehicle has access to, it has a 156 horsepower engine. Now, understand that's without basically the mods, so it's probably more like 185, 200, something similar to that. And then you have a transmission, which means it can go forward pretty quickly, but can't really go backwards very well. So once you're in a position, going to be quite hard to get out, which is going to be a bit of a problem. The other X-ray stuff shows that this vehicle has a driver in the front, it has a gunner, which is up here, who is also a commander, and then you have a loader here. So basically, if your commander/gunner dies, it will be replaced by the loader. So basically, you'll always have that weak spot up there where this commander sits, because once he gets taken out, obviously you won't be able to fire, and you'll probably get overpressured anyway. One of the cool things about this is it does actually have some armor in the middle of it. So you have 5mm there, and then also you have some structural steel, which is around the ammo. This is kind of like an updated X-ray, which is cool. It has a radio station and also the power system there. Plus, it has this piece of exhaust which follows from the engine, which is kind of cool. And then also it has the driver's controls. So looks like they're continuing, added these updated models to it, which is really nice. So let's have a look at some of the other factors. I'm not going to spend too much time on the armor. It's something that's designed to drop from a plane, right? Like, it's not going to have a lot of armor. Lower glacis is 25, but its effective thickness is 11 because it's made of aluminium alloy. Then the top is 15mm, but actually its effective is 10. And then on the sides, you basically have 4mm of effective armor. So yeah, this thing can literally just get machine gunned to death. It's not really going to be able to stop anything. You can see here you have the 25mm. So this is one of those where you're really going to have to shoot first. Like, you can actually just die to machine guns in this from the side, and there's nothing you can really do. So make sure that your trigger finger is healthy because you're going to have to fire first. Now let's have a look at the armament. This vehicle has 2 recoilless rifles. You have the 105mm, so these are slightly different than the ones that you find on other vehicles. And then also you have a 12.7mm Type 77 machine gun. Now, this machine gun actually looks pretty fun. I hope it has good elevation angles. We can have a look in the test drive. If that's the case, what doesn't have good elevation angles are these 105s. So you can see here, the vertical guidance, it has minus 4.5 on the gun depression, which isn't great. It is quite a low silhouette vehicle, but still, if you want to peak stuff, it's going to be kind of annoying. And then the vertical guidance for elevation is 9 degrees, which is awful for a vehicle. It's really, really bad. Its targeting speed isn't actually too bad. It actually has a better vertical targeting speed than most Soviet MBTs, so that's always a positive. And also at 6.7, you're dealing with a lot less of that, so you don't have to worry too much about it. Just to kind of show you where we're looking, by the way, this is ground realistic stats. Somebody actually asked me to show those instead of the arcade ones, because sometimes I get them confused. But the next thing that we have to talk about is the modifications. This vehicle is a Scout. It's a light vehicle, so it gets the kind of airstrike and improved optics, which is really nice. Doesn't get any smoke grenades. Also doesn't get any modifications for the rounds, so you just get them stock. But since this thing is a premium, you get it all spaded anyway, so it literally doesn't matter. So let's have a look at the 12.7. API, IAI, API-T, API-C. Pens up to 34, which is actually quite good for a HMG, so that will actually be useful in more situations than you may think. And then the 105, so this is where kind of the magic happens. So right now, you can see with this heat shell, this is going to be your main shell. It has 360 millimeters of penetration, but only has 503 meters per second muzzle velocity, which is pretty rough for something like this. It also has 2 kilos of TNT equivalent, which is quite nice. So technically, depending on how the mechanics work, it should overpressure things. And you can see here that it doesn't actually lose that much penetration on angle. The main thing is this is going to go through all of the heavy tanks that you're going to face at 6.7, 7.0, and 7.3. So stuff like the IS-3, IS-2, the T-34, and also the Tiger 2s will be able to get penetrated by this. One of the biggest issues with this BR is basically all the major nations have some very heavily armored units, including stuff like the T-26C5, which are really hard to penetrate through with conventional rounds. But once you're getting into the chemical area with these heat kind of rounds, these anti-tank grenades, then it actually means that you can punch through it pretty well, and the WZ-141-1 will be able to do that. With the HESH shell, you have a HESH. Even though Gaijin have made a video talking about how it's better than HE. Wow, what a great achievement. Thank God, because this vehicle definitely has HE, so it's definitely a better option. This is just a donkey round. You can see here 323 meters per second, 152 millimeters of pen. It's HESH, just use the heat. You'll have a much better time. And also you'll be able to penetrate things. This HESH shell technically can't even pen the front of Tiger 2s. So that's kind of funny. So the heat is definitely the way to go with this thing. Now, the targeting speed on the guns doesn't actually seem too bad. And what I'll show you is, first of all, right now, it doesn't have a ton of camouflages. I hope it gets more in the future. Obviously, it's a pretty modern vehicle. I think this is a 70s vehicle for the Chinese. So hopefully it gets some of the more modern kind of look on these. But this is what it looks like. You can see it's definitely very low to the ground. And then it also has the dual drive stuff. So that actually helps quite a lot with its mobility. The other thing is as well, is even though the guns themselves aren't the fastest, they're good enough for recoillesses. And you can see the low end acceleration of this thing is actually quite nice. So let's say there's a target over there, you could just rotate it and then hammer. You don't actually have to move the stuff as much as you would for other areas. Now, the way that the guns work is the same as all of these types of vehicles. I'm insanely impressed with the low end acceleration of this thing. But basically the way that it works is you have a primary and a secondary fire. So the primary fire fires one of them, and then the secondary fire fires the other one. So what you can do is you can individually fire these guns without having to, worry about kind of screwing that up. But I feel like they're gonna change this acceleration. I know that sounds weird, but just to kind of show you, right? So this does not have that powerful of an engine. It's like 150 to 200. The platform itself is like 6 tons, but 0 to 30, look how quick it is. Isn't that insane? Which means that you can really move about the place. Now, it's also got 10 kilometers an hour, but okay, look at the acceleration to that. It's like, it literally, it just seems too fast. But if it's able to keep this, that's really cool. And obviously, against these types of targets, you're going to be able to take them out. And with the HMG, you can kind of kill like pretty little targets as well, or light vehicles that you're going to face. I just wish this thing had some like smoke grenades. I understand, it's kind of like a weird, wonky prototype. It would be really cool if it did have those. And then also at the same time, I'm super impressed with this mobility. This is going to be really fun. Around 6-7, you have quite a lot of like fun light tanks, which wander about the place. And this one just kind of adds to it as like a wonky, fun vehicle that should be a little bit tough in certain areas to aim, but most of the time it'll be really nice. You can see here hitting these targets, we are actually overpressuring them with the heat, which means that you can kind of hit them wherever you want and it will just nuke everything inside. So that is actually really cool. Even the Hesh can do a bit of work against the Hargo. Let's see, is it amphibious? I think that kind of shows that it isn't. So no amphibious nature on this, even though it's incredibly light. But this thing's looking pretty fun. And I mean, my god, the elevation on the guns, just to let you know, by the way, that is the elevation. So it's really, really bad. And then also when you're putting it down, this cupola's kind of in the way of the guns. So you have to be a little bit careful on using that. Another thing to also mention is if the turret has full rotation, and I'm pretty sure it does, you can see that the commander with it turns as it goes, so it would be very surprising if it doesn't. And how cramped is this vehicle inside, by the way? Absolutely nuts. I'm really looking forward to this thing. And also, with like the event vehicle not being very good, and also the other Battle Pass vehicle being pretty boring, I think this one actually adds something quite spicy to the Chinese tech tree that I'm looking forward to. As somebody who really enjoys the M64, this one's looking really awesome too. So, two very fun kind of like event vehicles for light tanks for China. Maybe it's time to stick more of them in the tech tree, including the one that exists for this with the ATGMs. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.